And we are back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 20. And this is going to be a segment on the MSK show called Indie Creator Spotlight. So you guys know that we do Content Creator Spotlight and we have have a conversation. Content Creator Spotlight is more for the person that's just a content creator. Conversation is more if a person doesn't even have a social media platform as far as like a YouTube, a Kick, or a Twitch. They just basically have a mic and we just talk. But I remember on the Iron Man podcast, I did a lot of these where I just talked to various indie creators of all shapes and sizes, all platforms that they were on. And I was like, you know what? Time to boot this back up again. Journey into the indie comic sphere as I did. And I learned a lot, actually. It's crazy. I probably learned more about what that type of actual fandom scene is than mostly anything else I've ever done, because it's just so fascinating learning about different artists that I've never heard of, different ways you actually promote a project. There's so many different things that I learned. And the biggest thing that we all come to take away from that scene is that marketing is very hard. I don't even know how people even do it, because there's just no way of doing it, because there's no like way of innovating on it. People say, you got to just market better, bro. It's like, well, how? No one has any solution on it. It's basically just do the same shit. We go on Twitter and we just talk about, hey, but come back this project. That's pretty much all it is, you know?
Yeah, basically. That's all you can really do, because I've seen where you can try to drama farm, and that works sometimes, but only gets you so far, and it usually only attracts one crowd, and you're trying to get customers, you're trying to get people like actual a user base or an actual community growing, and you can't do that if you're just constantly trying to feed the constant wheel, just keep it going.
And for this first segment of Indie Creator Spotlight, we're going to have Crea TV, actually. So I'll ask you this before we start, which is, how far along are you in that one Kung Fu book that you were going to be doing?
I've already finished it. It's already colored, and it's just I gotta release it. I'm gonna find a proper place to do it, since I couldn't do it. The campaign didn't do well, because I still don't have a huge following yet.
Yeah,
it's gonna take time, and so for now, I'm probably gonna release it digitally. I'm thinking on Global Comics or on Webtoon or something. But I've considered building a website to just do that. I used to build websites all the time, so I might do that. It can be time consuming trying to build a site and build a community at the same time, and then trying to manage the site while managing a community, and then
while being a personality, while also trying to do YouTube content, because YouTube content is kind of how smaller creators get their names out these days. So before we get to more of that, since it is Crea TV's first appearance on this show, I know we've had many on the other one. Let's start with your origin story. So how was your life growing up, actually?
Well, being how I am, in previous, like I said in previous times, I've said that I'm Christian and grew up Christian with comic books. These are the two things. And in my neck of the woods, you don't really get people who actually think that those two things coincide. You can't be both. Some people actually would tell me, you can't be both Christian and enjoy comic books. You can't be a pastor and an artist. It's like, well, I will agree. You can't really be both as a pastor and artist, because they're both time consuming, but I do find a way to balance certain elements of that. Whereas, like, I gave up being a typical pastor and segued into comics. I was always an artist. I had always been drawing since I was 10 years old, even younger actually. But I created a comic books. Like, I created a few comic book series when I was a kid, and I like self-printed them and I put them out when I was a kid. And it's a lot more difficult now. You can't really just, unless you buy a really good printer. If you want to be a pro, you got to get a really good printer. And right now, if you look at the printers too, they have that issue of, where you have to pay a subscription just to print. And so for now, all I can say is, as my origin goes, I have always been an artist, and I've always been a Christian. And so I kind of intertwine all that into my life. Like, everything that I do revolves around that element of faith and comics. I intertwine it all, and that's all I do. Now, I post a lot of stuff online all the time about games and movies and everything, is because of the fact that I'm deeply invested in physical media, physical.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. I don't like purely digital stuff. I mean, I don't mind when it comes to comic books. You can get a PDF,
Yeah.
fine, but I like having a comic book in my hand, and I have a whole bunch of stuff behind me, games, consoles, all this stuff behind me. I can't show it on screen until much later, but it's one of those things where I've always been involved in that kind of content, that kind of stuff, and I wanted to do that kind of thing with YouTube, but it's not my niche. It's not me. So I'd say if you ever want to know more about me, you just look at my Twitter. That's where all my stuff is. I post everything. My brother also helps me. He does the writing for a lot of our comic books, but we kind of bounce back and forth between it. He doesn't like doing any
I
web
noticed.
shows.
Yeah. So I'll ask you, when you were growing up, did you ever have any conflicts with people with like having a religious background? Like people would always kind of have those questions. You know, in high school, mostly people were like, well, why are things this way? Why are things? Did you have those like crazy conversations when you were growing up in school?
Well, actually, surprisingly, no. When I was a kid in school, a lot of the kids that I grew up with were Christian and had similar values, and they loved the fact that I could draw. So I never grew up with the typical the people who bullied me were other Christians who did not like comics, but they didn't like they weren't in my sphere. They weren't in the group. So whenever they came after me, they would attack me. First, they didn't attack the comics. They went after my physical appearance. And I don't know what was wrong with them. It's like they call themselves Christian, and then it's like they kind of went after my physical appearance, and it just kind of, they would have then try to do physical altercations, and I grew up with martial arts, and so physical altercations, martial arts doesn't mix well. They get laid out, and then they wonder how I call myself Christian if I beat them up, and so it's kind of like, I mean, what did you expect? You knew this about me. Most of the people that went after me, they knew these things. They did it because they wanted to challenge me for no reason. They had a problem, and I don't know. I think that's probably why my mom put me in homeschooling afterwards. It's one of those things where she'd rather. It was much easier, and I graduated earlier than everyone that I ever grew up with. So I mean, I graduated high school. I graduated at 14. It was the quickest.
That's
quickest
crazy.
exit. It's like I didn't do. There's no what they call it. I didn't take any like special programs. I just graduated by taking the regular SATs, took the regular tests. I took all the tests you're supposed to, all the things you're supposed to pass, and there you go. And you know, it's one of those things. The altercations that I experienced, like I said, the things I grew up with when it came to comic books and all that. Surprisingly, the nerd culture and the classic bullies being, against nerds. I didn't experience that growing up. It was, in fact, comic books were not that popular, but they were not ridiculed. I was a 90s kid. It's like, it wasn't, you had superhero TV shows everywhere. All the kids loved superheroes.
You know, it's crazy. Looking back now, is at least throughout my life, through I can look at through my lens. When it comes to like people that are like Christian, sometime at least just my area, it seems like it's all just talk, because if people understand the nature of being a Christian, even I'm not religious anymore, but being a Christian is to be Christ-like, right? So that means what the things you say, your actions should probably reflect that. And the biggest problem when it comes to anybody religious, not even just Christians, is actually having your life reflect the things you're saying. That's why I've always been bigger on. That's what the saying is, like, actions speak louder than words. Because anybody could just tell you some bullshit, but if they're not actually living it themselves, does it really matter? That person's just word means nothing. I think the biggest problem that Christians have ran into all these many years is not a lot of them are taking stands on like, hey, we do not accept this. I do not like this. And a case example, the one you remember earlier this year, dude, the Olympics. Remember those weird trans people in Paris did that fucking supper thing?
Yeah, they should have stood up. I think they honestly should have been a lot more vocal, a lot more present in trying to put a stop to it. And
but they were doing that thing of like, oh well, if I put my head in the sand, I'll just ignore it. A lot of them do that, and and then now we're at this point where now a lot of them are standing up. But it's like sometimes in life there's that other saying, it's too little, too late. Sometimes things are so late because things are already deep rooted in how bad things are. You can't do anything now. It's too late. It's the infection is already spread. What you were trying to actually make better is not going to happen based off the amount of influence you don't have compared to someone else. You know, it was so crazy to see a bunch of them come out and be like, oh, we don't like this. Where were you guys with all this other stuff? This is what broke you? A random Olympics happen every, 6-10 years or some bullshit like that? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, what broke me when it came to Christianity, the traditional aspect of it, I mean, I believe that there are some elements that are important, but I do think a lot of Christians have become soft. They've become incapable of standing up for themselves. I mean, I remember growing up, the people that I knew, they used to say that they didn't understand how you can be a Christian and then stand up for yourself or stand up for others in physical altercations or anything like that. I mean, even my characters in my comic books, that's one of the funnier things is the characters that I create, they're deeply inspired by Christian elements. And so it's fully ingrained. And whenever you have the actual Christianity is a lot more bold, a lot more strong. And the thing is, they don't show that in today's time frame. The ones who, whenever they do, they show the weakest parts of Christianity. They don't show the people that basically do good from the shadows. They do good in the background. They are not trying to be known for doing good. They just want to do good because that's what they're called to do. And you know, I mean, heck, our nation was founded on Christian principles. In fact, the majority of the founding fathers were Christian, and with a very few however, even the ones who were standouts, they still believed in the Christian values. They just didn't know if they believed in God. That's all it is. And you know, it's one of those things where I believe you got to be able to stand up for what's right, but I also believe that you have to be able to pick your fights. There's times you have to turn the other cheek, and there's times when you're supposed to stand up for what's good. And turning the other cheek is meant to apply to those who don't understand. But those who do understand, who know, who have heard the actual truth, they will oftentimes pick the most fights, and knowing they think that, hey, I can get you on this. Like, no, you already know the truth. You've already heard it. You just reject it. And for you, good luck. Come at me, bro. Basically, it's like if you want to throw hands, you'll end up on your back.
Yeah, that's the thing with most people now is that they're just trying to fight every battle, and I agree with that too. It's like I'm not trying to fight every battle because obviously that will require you being knowledgeable on like everything, and I'm just not that deeply knowledgeable on everything to that much of an aspect where I don't even really pick like political fights with people. I'll say on like Twitter or whatever. And now if you're asking me my general opinion, I'll give you my general opinion, but that doesn't require me to give you some long-standing history of said issue. I'm not trying to do that. That's not my goal, right? Like now we live in a world of like entertainment where the audience are mad at the other audience members if they speak out about something that they don't like. And it's like the audience is more mad at each other because one side of the audience doesn't like what they're getting as far as content, and the other one is like trying to just put their head in the sand, just trying to be like consume product, move on. And it's like, hey, if you want to be a guy to do that, cool, but that does not mean that I have to do that. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes with that. What I'm saying is like, if you want to just accept new product and just buy it or whatever, cool, go for that. That doesn't mean I have to do it because people are getting mad at like content creators for just giving their opinion. It's like, guys, the studios are the ones that makes the product. I've never understood with people. People are more mad at you for giving your opinion on a product you paid for with your own hard-earned money than the people that actually made the bad product and will basically criticize and crucify you over you having an opinion on a product you bought for. I'll never understand that. That's why, like, you know, I don't mind certain people talking to the audience a certain way because I feel like some of them are actually genuinely stupid. Some of them are like not smart at all. Some of them don't even understand basic concepts on anything. Now, I don't agree as far as like calling people like idiots or calling your fans bigots and racist, right? But I mean on the aspect of like, I think the audience has to understand the only people making the product is them. They're making it. So if my opinion as a customer does not matter, then why would I support them then? That's where I'm not understanding. So we're supposed to not say anything at all. We're supposed to just get product, receive it, do whatever with it, and move on. That's what we're supposed to do in life. No one even did that back then. The reason why things got better or were as good is because people didn't accept mediocre bullshit. Fans were like, I don't like this, fix it. And they did because they realized we're not going to make money if we don't. Things used to just kind of just, make a lot of money back in the day because they were just the only option people had, That's why, and now, companies don't make as much money as they used to. Ubisoft, we use that as a recent example. Ubisoft right now is considering selling their company to Tencent, who owns a lot of companies. They own Riot. They own, I think, the property. They own Epic Games, I think, which is Fortnite. Actually, they have a huge fat load of cash, right? And now we're at that point where nobody bought Ubisoft's products that much to the point where it's equal to them make better products, and then we might buy it. Nope, company just double down on making bad products for people. I don't get it. What are you trying to prove? You want to go bankrupt? That's what you're trying to prove? Bankruptcy to own the chuds. Good. Cool. I'll take it. What? It's not my money. I don't give a fuck.
It's a really weird situation there because of the fact that they know that I know for a fact that they know that they're able to, get out of this hole they've dug themselves into, and they just found a way. They keep finding ways to further sink into this quicksand that they've made. They made it for themselves. It's like constant products that are no one's interested in, and people genuinely want something new. I think that's one of the main things that I think many people are really struggling with is they keep making sequels upon sequels. That's one of the biggest issues is they make sequels upon sequels, and people, I mean, granted, I will say people enjoy the Assassin's Creed games, and they enjoy all these different games that are really haven't been
phoned in sequels. Sequels to matter in the grand scheme of things. They don't want just like pointless cash grabs.
Exactly. Like I think the first three, like the Assassin's Creed games, as the example with Ubisoft and all of them, and all the Square Enix and all these game platforms, when they get past 3, I think they should stop. I think 3 games is done. And if the third one fails, then you really are done, especially. And I think that if you have basically these studios need to start making new games and bringing in actual creatives, people who don't want to spend $100 million on a game. I think it needs to go back to the classic 30 million max, like keep it at a decent, like a very respectable level. But I think one of the issues too is the kind of, I mean, they'll say the economy is the only reason why, and they are not getting paid enough. But I think that if there's so many, I can't tell you how many people I know in Texas who would love to make a game, but they don't have the money, they don't have the ability to. But they have the skill, they have the skill set, and they have the knowledge, and they have the ideas, but they don't get hired because of the fact that they want them to live in New York and California. And I'm just like, we don't want to live there. We want to work here. Move your company over here. It's clear that you're not getting anything done over there.
It makes no sense financially for those companies to be in California or New York if you look at it from a financial point of view of like all the taxes and incentives and everything. Yeah. And even the reason why they're there, most people don't know, the reason why they're there in California and New York is the biggest hubs of these places because there are connections there as far as Hollywood goes. Like all the big events happen in New York and California. A lot of popular movies and TV shows get filmed over there. Netflix is also in California. A lot of big companies you guys know, like San Francisco has Substack that's big. DoorDash is from San Francisco. There's a lot of big stuff that California has and New York. So the incentive is to basically, if you live there, that means you're in the big crowd, you're in the in crowd, you can make it. It's all this smoke and mirrors bullshit. That's been a dream that has not been a reality for a long time,
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, every movie, I joke about this sometimes on Twitter. I'll say how basically movies back in the day used to make it to where California, New York, and Washington, if those places were destroyed, it's the end of the world. That's it. And then they show Texas, and it's fine. They show no one destroyed it, and they show, well, it's the end of the world now. It's like, go to Texas, and you see no one got destroyed. Everyone's fine because in Texas we don't mess with anybody, and you don't mess with Texas. Like we're strong here, but we're also very friendly to people who are respectable and don't try to change things.
You guys are also very opinionated about guns. Texas people there, that is not a stereotype. They love guns over there.
They're fun. I mean, they're fun. They're like, and we don't get to hear annoying people because you can't hear them past the sound. And you can't tell if it's fireworks.
There's no way people in Texas should be voting for Kamala Harris. She literally wants to take away people's gun rights. That is not going to flat people from Texas. I'll tell you that right now, people. There's no way.
I don't know. I mean, I was actually afraid because my uncle, he and my family, a lot of my people in my family, they kind of teeter between the left leaning and all that. But I
Mhm.
called many of my family, all of them, everyone in my family is voting for the orange man.
Oh yeah.
They're all voting for him, and I love it because of the fact that it's one of the quickest ways to get these issues out of the way, and it's kind of
Mhm.
blind. It's kind of blind. It would I would think they're blind if they couldn't
Mhm.
see all the trouble that's going on. Now, I can't say Trump's some big savior. He's not going to do anything
Yeah.
grand. I honestly think we're kind of screwed. But when it comes to this nation and all the things that are going on, I don't understand why anyone would want to vote for the current regime. Like they're in charge right now. They're in charge right now, and they could fix the problems that they say they're going to fix, but veto or whatever they it's like, but they're not doing anything about it, and it's because they don't want to. They're just gonna keep probably embezzling money and store it in some other offshore nation, and then
Or even just with someone like Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, people don't know, got a lot where she came from based off of using her mouth. And it's crazy to me that women will say they're voting for her, even though those are the same women that say that women don't do that to get higher positions of power. Yet this woman willingly did that to do that. And I find it so ironic that they're going to vote for a person like that. It's like, so even you yourself are voting for a woman that uses her mouth to get where she needs to go. So why should I value what you want to value? Just pointing out, that's why I can't really take most modern women seriously. And people know I don't think women should be voting at all for the most part. They're not really that intelligent, but it's just like, how am I supposed to take women seriously if the stuff that you're telling me you stand on as a moral value and you don't even like put your money where your mouth is to make sure that's a known thing? Hey, we do as women, we do not accept that women do that in the workplace to get higher up, and I respect that. I would respect women don't do that because I really would devalue them. But women are gonna be, no, we gotta vote for Kamala. She's a woman. Oh, fuck off. You're not serious. You're just saying shit that just sounds nice to say. Come on, what are we doing here?
not even
Because they don't want to be perceived as the ladies that vote for Trump, because then they know they're gonna get that back. Because women, as you know, man, they're all like stigma. It's all perception. It's all like I gotta be known as the person that's like this. So
yeah.
cringe, man.
It's really just a big mess, but
Yeah.
I think that they base their entire process, their mental processes off of emotions, and
Mhm.
I mean, so do men too, but in a different
Yeah.
kind. It's more about how will this affect my feelings after I don't have money in my wallet?
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
how am I gonna how is like it's more of a fear than emotion. It's don't we don't want the money to dry up. We don't want resources to be gone and given to people who don't care about it, who will sooner I, an example that I find one of the funniest things is that in my neighborhood, every now and then an ice cream man comes by. I know for a fact that he's not here legally, but I can't do anything about it. I've reported him and keeps showing up. But he um he has an ice cream truck. But it's not it's the jankiest ice cream truck. It's a basic SUV. It's an SUV with stickers all over it. And it's like I feel like when I look at it, I'm waiting for him to pull some kids in and I'm terrified. But then I'm like I went up to them I went to get an ice cream. I was like, I'm just gonna see what they got.
Yeah.
They had these little tiny ice creams that were like this big. The ice creams are that big, like 2 inch. It was like it was the smallest, and they were charging $4 for one. And I was just like, I stared at that for. I looked at him for like felt like an hour, and I was just like, I'm not paying for that. I gave it back to him and just walked away. But I looked at the rest of the pricing, and that was the other thing is the pricing didn't have anything on the sticker. I had to ask him, and he only spoke Spanish. I know
Mhm.
just a little bit of Spanish, and so I saw all the prices after that. I asked him, and he said like $6 for this, $4 for this, $6 for a quarter of a quarter of a carton of ice cream. This little, like again, nothing, a
Yeah,
palm.
the ice cream truck people we have here, at least the one guy or two guys that do it, at least the ice cream bars are like big. If you're gonna give me like a nice big ice cream, I'll give you $5 for that. And I know it's a mom and pop little thing, so I'm willing to do it. It's just that kind of thing. Nah, that's just straight up ripping someone off. I'm
Well, you
good.
know what's worse is these exact ice creams that they have
Mhm,
at Walmart. You can get the same ones, a pack of 12 for like
mhm,
$4.
mhm,
So he's selling them at 90% markup,
mhm.
$4 for per like when each one's like worth 15 cents. Like when you get them in a box,
Yeah.
math wise, it's like 15 to 25 cents. So I'm thinking he could still be charging $1, $2 and make more money by getting more people to buy more.
Yeah.
But no, he's charging more. And I know for a fact he's using food stamps to
Oh,
buy these things, to buy these popsicles and then to sell them illegally. It's like that's illegal. You're not allowed to use food stamps to buy food and sell. Like, you can't do
that's
that.
true. Yeah.
And so it's like I look at this. I admire the opportunistic nature of trying to do that, but I also think I get surprised when I see it. It's like I'd rather just get it from Walmart. I have delivery. I can have it delivered to my front door within 30 minutes, and it's like maybe less. And I can get a whole box of it, a whole carton, a big old bucket. I can get the $5 jug of ice cream, the big old boom, 3
Yeah.
gallons.
Because I know you said your family's big on just making home cooked meals and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't typically eat out as much. If I get off of work and I'm really tired, I'll just order food. Honestly, I'll just walk to the nearest diner. I'll walk down to the street. There's a fast food place in there. Most of the part, I'll just stay inside and grab a TV dinner and make some food at all. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you can go to fucking Walmart and get a fucking box of chicken for like $8. That'll last you a good couple of days. I mean, these are big pieces too. And, I'm
Yeah.
black, so chicken's always gonna be a part of our diet.
I
So many jokes you can make there. So many jokes.
But, I mean, I understand. I mean, I get the big old 12 pack of chicken breasts, the big one because I have a big family, so I make chicken breasts, and I'll meal prep it for a couple days and just have it there in the fridge. But, I'm still big on pre-cooking food. I prefer to cook the food and, do all that, and you can order all the ingredients from Walmart and have it delivered. I don't like going to the store, so I'm like, it's
Mhm.
cheaper to just do that than pay for gas, give up the car, and I can just
Yeah.
walk where I want to go, and there you go. Take the bus. It's cheaper right now. It's all about finding ways to cut costs and putting your money where you want it to go. And it's
Yeah.
I've seen so many weird people talk about how you can't put your money where where you want it to go. Like you gotta pay for this. You gotta spend money on this. Like,
Yeah.
why
Some
don't you
things are already
support
spoken
this?
for, right? When you get
Hmm.
paid, rent has to be paid. Whatever bills you have first part of the month have to be paid. There's food, that's a bill itself. Internet might as well at this point be a household bill. It probably has been for a very long time.
Yeah.
Clothing throughout the month, if you want to get new clothes, or even just if you get like even hand-me-downs, those cost money too. It's
Yep.
just, oh my god, man, things are so expensive now. It's actually insane. Like I remember I went to the store and I'll just look at the price because for me, I'm not that off for money. I just look at the to see if it's actually that bad. It's pretty bad, guys. Like a dozen eggs is like what, $9 now? A dozen eggs is $9. It's fucking insane to think
It
about.
is. Even in Texas, you can get the 13 pack or something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah, those
or
ones.
8 or
Yeah.
18 pack. It's the 18
Mhm.
pack for $7, the farm fresh eggs. Over here in
Mhm.
Texas, it's not cheap.
Even if you go to
And
Dollar Generals or like dollar stores to save money, it's almost the same thing, honestly.
yeah.
Because those things you're gonna the cart person starts scanning items, that thing racks up pretty hard. That like I
And
remember even mhm,
now they have a tip for every like they charge a tip for every single thing that you have
that
to
too.
buy.
Yeah. And the tips
And
don't
then
even go to the employees. The tips you're supposed to be willingly pulling out of your wallet to give to the employee because you like what the service they provided you. Now it's like, oh, you want a tip or round up your nearest change to go to this charity or something like that. Oh god, man,
yeah.
corporations, holy shit, squeezing every last dollar out of you. Hey, I know you might need this 80 cents, but can we have it to donate to this charity? What's a charity gonna do with some funky ass 80 cents? What the
Well,
hell?
it's because the corporation does the donation first for them. So they do the donation, they determine how much they want to donate, and then they keep the whatever people donate. They When people donate, you're not actually they're not donating what you gave them. They're donating they already determined how much they're going to give. In their heads, they've already chosen how much they're going to give, or they'll adjust it based on how much money they lost. And they'll say, "Oh, we lost this much money. If we donate this much, we'll get a tax break, and we'll make money back in the tax return." So that nothing, like we're not in the red. And I notice a lot of people, a lot of companies are losing money, and so that's what they do is they'll donate whatever they can, they'll donate it and say that it's a contribution or some. They'll say that it's good, but in reality, it's just another form of embezzlement, another form of money laundering, and it's kind of funny actually. But it's one of those weird things where you have to really be careful where you put your money. And I mean, as it is right now, I've been careful with backing campaigns. I back the ones that I know, the ones that I'm aware of, the ones that
that will fulfill in a timely manner. You know,
yeah.
I backed John Malin's Godlike 2, one of the ones I backed like one of the reprints on his book. I wanted to do the 3-year wait for a book. I wanted to finally be in on that meta. Now it says on the campaign 2025 as an estimated shipping date. What people don't understand, that is the end of next year. That is the end of next year. The estimated shipping date is December 2025. You know, holy shit. But hey, fuck it. Quality, right? Holy shit. I hate it. I mean, it's so stupid.
It's a pain. It's really one of those big things. I mean, when it came to, there's the reason why I still support the Rippaverse. I mean, I support their work. I mean, they're not perfect, but they have merit, and they have the fandom. The fandom in itself is one of the best parts about it. I talked to so many great people. I've met so many great people and artists and fellow comic book enthusiasts and collectors because of Rippaverse, and have gotten jobs because of just drawing fan art from the Rippaverse. And they'll see it.
Yeah.
They see my work, it gets retweeted, and then people hire me because I want a cover like that, or I want a poster like that. And I've gotten a few cover jobs, and one particular is always hiring me. And she's been, there's one woman that she hires me a lot. I think you've had her on the show a few times.
Yeah.
Writer C.S. Johnson. She's hired me for quite a few jobs. And
a resident Christian MILF woman. God,
no,
let her live it down. I did read Discord. I did. I not think it's bad, but I have to reread it because I read it and I forgot that if I don't review something right after I watch it or read it, then I'm gonna forget it. It's just how my mind
I understand
works.
that completely. I have a whole stack of comics I haven't reviewed yet. I have like 13. I haven't, because the computer, that's the biggest thing I've been posting online. It's not just for sympathy, it's for reality. It's I don't like keeping people in suspense or in any. I want transparency in everything that I do. I try to be transparent, and my computer has been on the fritz. It completely shutting off for days. It'll just not turn on. And I checked it's the wiring and all that. And you know, I've been fixing computers for years, since I was like 12. And so I've been doing a lot of things since I was 12. But no, there's something wrong with it. I'm fixing it. Right now it's working fine, aside from the occasional blip of you know, frame dropping or whatever. But for the most part, the computer's doing a lot of weird things. My tablet, it's gotten some issues, so I've been going back and forth between paper and tablet. And so I'm gonna be working hard on what I need to do and what I need to find. I set aside whatever money I get from commissions and fix the issues. And I think one of the biggest issues that I've found with a lot of indie creators is that they don't have a lot of transparency when it comes to those types of issues, because they don't explain the idiosyncrasies of why things don't work, or why they're not delivering on time. They'll give an excuse, but they don't explain it in details. Like, I don't come from money. The stuff that I have behind me is I'm really smart with my money, and that's it. Whatever money I get, it's like this TV that I have in the background, 50-inch TV, cheap, small, not.
Gets the job done. It's good enough for a while. That's the thing, is what people should do is you should buy a quality product that can last you not only right then in the immediate term, but the long term as well. That's why if I make a big purchase on something, it might hurt initially up front, but I know the long-term value I'll gain out of it is immeasurable. That's why I always tell people to get a PC if you want to do like many more things with content creation, because I know it's gonna be a lot of money up front, but you're gonna have so many more opportunities. I think people just look at things in a money aspect too much. The time that comes with that investment also matters too. If you get like good 5-6 years out of that thing, no matter what you pay for it up front, 5-6 years for a good product, I'll take it. I'll take it honestly.
And you know, when I look at some of the bigger independent creators, one of the funniest ones that I've seen in recent days, I can't remember his name, but a lot of the ones that I've been noticing, they tend to harp on all these artists they hire, and they don't realize with stuff that I create, I'm the only one drawing and the only one I do the penciling, the inking, I do
Mhm.
the digital reworkings, editing, and sometimes I'll just do it full
You don't got
digital
some
if I have to.
editorial staff behind you like Marvel and DC do.
Nope.
You're just a
It's
one-man job.
it's just me. And my brother, he does writing, but I do the overall structure of the story. I have to
Yeah.
create to make sure it stays in an actual path that's easy to
Mhm.
follow, where there's no hand-holding required, but also I just want all the stories to fit the overall universe. I'm not just making one comic and then I'm disappearing forever. It's like we
Mhm.
have 3 planned with the Legend of Tao. That's the 3 issues planned.
Mhm.
And then but we're probably gonna separate them now to make them smaller.
Yeah.
We were gonna make them 100 pages. We decided to make them 50 pages so that they can have more manageable stories so
Yeah.
that people can read them in longevity. And it would reduce the price. So whenever I relaunch a campaign or if I decide to sell them, like just get the money myself and then forget the campaign and just sell it automatically. I don't have to charge as much.
Mhm.
I want to keep it at like $25 for a good 80 pager or 50 pager.
Yeah. And people have asked, like, why indie creators charge a lot for their books. I mean, you guys got to understand. I mean, probably going to be doing these kind of videos on my comic book channel because, I started a comic book channel where I just do like comic book reviews and everything. It's
Yeah,
one of these things where the average person does not understand how much money it costs to do all of this. There's a reason
exactly.
why that I think even when someone only makes like 5K on an Indiegogo Kickstarter campaign, I think that's great. Like there are people they'll barely scratch like $1,000. So you getting 5,000 is great in and of itself. That might not pay for your whole book, but there's people that or like people don't like John Malin a lot. The book makes like 80K. You can do a lot of money, but you can do a lot with 80K. Just putting it
Yeah,
out there. I was saying it's really hard to get people invested in general when it comes to this stuff.
yeah,
Like so any money you get from an audience member should be appreciated no matter how small the contribution is. People are always harping, oh, I didn't make this much. Man, if you were someone that made $1,000 in your campaign, you were lucky because there's a person probably out there that made like nothing on their campaign.
mhm.
A little bit of
I'm
humility goes a long way.
I was the one that didn't make anything on the camp. Well, I made it was like one of the campaigns because I did it twice. I did it
Yeah,
first on Fun My Comic. I wanted to try
yeah.
it there first because I support Fun My Comic and it's
Mhm.
one of my favorite sites now. Because whenever I pay, they take the money immediately, and I know that it's going to usually go through and
Great Wolf.
finish.
Awesome, man. Hopefully
That's
it'll,
awesome.
it'll work out for you. Hell yeah. Oof. Or even
But
just
yeah,
with indie novelists too. Like people are like, well, I'm not selling enough books. It's like, sometimes and I'll understand just because you're doing something creative does not mean people have to willingly invest into you. It's the same thing with
exactly.
the bigger companies that we talk about. I don't have to willingly give them anything, but you do. It's just kind of like the audience kind of gets to decide what they spend their money on. We can't control that. It's not something you can control. You can kind of hope to maybe get some of them, but there's really not much you can do. People just kind of decide what they want to spend their money on, which is, we live in a free market anyway. Oh, as they say, it's supposed to be capitalistic and free of your choice, but Kamala Harris wants to definitely take that away. No, seriously, she really wants to censor people. She's straight up a piece of shit. Oh God! Remember that one where
Ugh.
she said, "Why does Twitter and Facebook function differently?" Oh hi, color me shocked and bend me over and fuck me twice. Woman, they're ran by two different people. That shouldn't even need explaining. That should just go without saying. I would never vote for someone like that because that's this level of stupidity I don't even want to entertain. If someone doesn't understand why Twitter and Facebook would function differently as companies, we're not entertaining that. That is like, buddy, you figure it out. I'm leaving. Peace.
It
Oh, God,
it's
man.
it's very convoluted and very it's kind of absurd at this point. The fact that these people don't understand the basics of reality. It's like they're in this weird bubble that just doesn't seem it seems so small, and I feel like it's so constricting. Where is the logic? Where is the sense of, you know, looking and discovering things, actually reading and paying attention? Like they have no reading comprehension, no ability to grasp fundamental programming and fundamental understanding of rights. That's the biggest issue is they don't understand these things. As you can't make a choice. You can't like, you have to do you must fall in line, and that's what they want. And And it's kind of the same way with entertainment right now, and it's this similar method of doing things. You have to fall in line with a certain way. Like if you don't support this indie creator, you're not a
Yeah, yeah.
fan. If you don't support this mainstream creator, you're not a fan. It's like, what if I did and then I stopped? It's
Yeah. Or
like
what if you just didn't have the financial means of supporting them, you know?
yeah, like right now, I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy the new ISOM statue, but I love the comics. I love the
Mhm,
comics, but I mean they're not perfect. I didn't like Gooding that much. I'll say that as a on the record thing. I didn't really like
mhm,
Gooding. It was a bit of a mess to me. It seemed absurd. The character didn't have any real characteristics that were entertaining. He was kind of an ass,
mhm,
to be frank. The character was bland and
mhm.
the overall concept didn't matter. I mean, in fact, I liked the private investigator storyline more in the like the
Oh, like the Ribazine, yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed in fact both of them, both of the Ripazine 1 and 2.
I
I
haven't read the
enjoyed both of
second
those.
one yet. I haven't got my mail packages in yet, but this with the 13-page salvage PI story, I think that's his best written work by far. It flowed like that's honestly, if he didn't do anything else after ISOM 3 and just did that, I'd be fine with that. You
Yeah,
know?
I feel like in fact, there's another character, Isaac, I think his name is Isaac. There's a
Mhm,
character in the story. Keep forgetting the character names, but the guy who's the tailor, the one who makes the suits, I could see a comic book out of that. That was more his character was more entertaining. Even in the trailers, it showed a more entertaining storyline. And the fact there's I could see that. I think that many people should be able to see it. It's like imagine a character who's dealing with superpower people. You have people, and then he designs suits for them, special tech for them, and then you have potential villains who despise him. Maybe a
mhm,
glitchy suit, something screwed up, blew up
mhm,
a jetpack on him, and he lost half his butt. I mean, you never know what could happen in that story. It's a good story, even in Ripazine, to have to include that.
mhm.
And in fact, I think Ripazine to me is a little bit more entertaining compared to some of the comics. But the one I'm looking forward to, Horseman, I want to see what that's going to be like. I heard
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot like Punisher, so it's one of those comic books that it has me intrigued. I already drew a bit of fan art. I have it saved for later. I'm gonna post
mhm.
a time lapse of it, but it's one of those things where the character looks interesting, and I'm surprised that that one's supposed to be a one off. I was like, I think Gooding should be a one off, and Horseman should
Yeah.
be.
Both of them are supposed to be one shots. But I also had mentioned previously in my other videos talking about Eric July's company, the Rippaverse, was that depending on how much money they make, that doesn't mean anything. You know why? Because as we said before, money, whenever you make a lot of money on something, that kind of determines if you make the next decision much more
Yeah,
impactful. Goody Inc. and Horseman made a lot of money. I'd imagine we're gonna have a Horseman ongoing series. There's no way after making like 600K,
I
he's
still
not
think they're
gonna do
gonna.
another Horseman.
I think that they're gonna reach a million soon. I feel like they're going to still reach a
How
million.
much has it got so far? Isn't it like 650? I think,
I
right?
think. I mean,
I think you're right. I haven't checked in a few days. You're probably right. Last time I checked, it was like 600K, 650, which is that's already insane. That means the Horsemen would have the fourth best performing campaign, and not being a flagship character. Remember, the flagship characters are Alpha Core, Gyra, and Isom. But all four of those campaigns had like multi-million-dollar campaigns, right? Horseman is not even part of the original lineup of characters, and has managed to do what, like 600K, 650K? Actually insane. It's actually incredible, actually. And I like what Eric July is doing. Oh, fucking hell. Well, oh, Theo is back. Sorry about that, guys. If you see that live, his internet died out, or he chose to.
it just completely crashed, but I'm back now. Yeah, the
He left me like my dad, but he came back.
at least I came back. Yes,
At least you came back. Did you bring Skittles and Marlboro cigarettes?
I do have Skittles actually.
Like Skittles.
I'm not joking. I
I
have
like
some
chocolate
a
ones.
little. I have a stash of theater candy just for special occasions.
Oh gosh. I'm trying to see where the Horseman is at right now. But yeah, because right now the Horseman was just a one shot they're doing right here. They haven't even did the Horseman #1. They have the #1 sales to go off of for that. If that campaign ever lost you, I think the problem that I had with Eric's book so far is just the villains haven't really been all that good overall. I think the only good villain I would classify as good is the guy from ISO #1. and number 2 would be Darian Fontano. I wasn't the hugest fan of Chadron. The villains from Alpha Core were pretty meh, honestly. Yaira's villains were pretty. I'm pretty sure the review that I did pretty meh. They're just kind of like Viltrumites that weren't as interesting. And what was it? So was PI's villain. Can't really say about that guy yet because that's not been revealed so much yet. But that was that villain I think was interesting from just the concept alone. Gooding's villain was fine for me. It was Splatterpuss, right? He was fine, you know. But they should kind of shoot for more of a. I think if you can make impactful villains, it'll make the stories impact more. Because I feel like without the impactful villains, the characters are having like less of a purpose to improve and get better. It seems like they're just improving in the story based off like the circumstances, and the villains are kind of like an obstacle that's kind of a reason the story is progressing. That's all I think they need to improve on. They need to improve on just more consistent, good villains. Because at this point, we shouldn't only really have the best villain being Darian Fontano. That's crazy. Man, and I saw one. That was Eric's first attempt at a villain, you know? Supposed to be like this underground guy that runs everything. You know?
I will say this: it is difficult to write a villain, especially if you're trying to maintain a certain status quo among the characters, and it's difficult because of the fact that like even now, if you look at even mainstream stuff, they have difficulty writing villains. They're trying to make all of them relatable, and I'm just like they're not. I don't know about you. I don't want a villain to be relatable. I feel like if the villain is relatable, it gets to this point where it's like, you might be the villain. It's like in life.
You relate to the Joker, people, you are mentally insane.
Yes,
just pointing out. If you relate to Frieza, you might be a mentally deranged person. Like I gotta want a villain I gotta relate to. You want to relate to Magneto? That guy's a serial killer.
Yes, okay, it's a thing. I'm tired of the relatable stereotypes and that they've made now. And it's relatable heroes, relatable villains. I want a hero to be larger than life. I want to be beyond good, like compared to what is supposed to be. Like I can understand to some degree a misunderstood hero, but misunderstood villains are better. A misunderstood villain, a villain that, or not misunderstood, I should say, a villain that you hear their story and you're like, so that's why you're evil, you retard. It's like what. Like that's how you should feel about them. Like you shouldn't feel like they are relatable. You shouldn't feel like, oh, I understand why they did this. I understand. Like if you have a villain where you understand why they did something, then that's not a good villain because of the fact that if to me anyway, it feels at this point overdone. Like you have Maleficent and Disney, you have Maleficent. They turned her into a hero, essentially. And I understand the story. It was good once. After that, there's too many now. And in mainstream media, movies, comics, it's become this trope to make the heroes the asshats who bullied these people into becoming villains instead of making it to where a villain is a villain because he's wrong. Because that's it. He's just wrong on all levels. Everything about him is like make the character a despicable turd and then have the hero stop him. Plain and simple. Clean.
Just with the MCU. With Thanos, people have been making so many let's say video essays and posts on Twitter where like, you know what? Now I understand where Thanos is coming from. You understand where a genocidal maniac is coming from? You need to be thrown in an insane asylum, kid.
It's like, I mean, seriously, I can understand having different opinions and all that and people being a little retarded, but like coming to this point where you actually believe that they should die? What on earth? It's like, I remember whenever I see a villain tale where the villain's misunderstood or like he didn't actually, like he was pushed to this thing and then the hero stops him from doing this because he has to. I'm just like, I'm starting to side with the villain, and you're writing the villain to be a guy that you want to side with. Like I don't want to like that's the problem. Is they're writing these villains as a way for you to want to side with evil. It's like I understand why they're doing that. I'd do that too if I was him. It's like,
the recent Planet of the Apes movie. Remember the one that came out and the interview from the director? It was someone on the brush stroke. I forgot. I don't think it was the director, or there was someone that was working on the movie. It was like I think one of the actors. They were like, you know what? I kind of agree with the apes. Actually, humans are bad. Oh fucking hair! It's that whole like if the girl was trapped with a guy or a bear, they would choose the damn bear. It's like, you guys are insane. If you choose the bear, you deserve to not have kids or be happy at all. Oh my god.
There's a big last night I was actually posting something funny about I was watching the Resident Evil movies for no particular reason. I just wanted to watch some noise in the background while I was drawing.
Yeah.
And I was watching them. I noticed the biggest thing that clearly was bad in terms of writing was the villains lost any sense of direction. The Umbrella Corporation, they completely lost any sense of direction. They were at first they were just trying to make money. That's it. They're just trying to make money, selling military arms and all that. It's clear they're the villains. And then afterwards, and by the third movie or fourth movie, you get the sense that, or you can see very clearly, they don't know what they're doing anymore because they are now wiping out the entire human race. And so who's the bad guy here? And the AI program was actually trying to stop them. And by the end of the movie, that's the final movie, the AI is the good guy. She was the good one. She was trying to put a stop to Umbrella Corporation, which doesn't make sense because the Umbrella Corporation's motivation was to make money. But then at the end of this movie, they changed the rules and made it to where, oh, they were actually trying to genocide the planet, start over. But I'm like, you kind of wiped out any form of population growth that you could have. You can't fix the problem anymore because you wiped them all out. There's no one to fix. There's nothing to resolve. There's no new community. The ones that you froze, that you kept on stasis to keep them alive, they're all old. They were 70 and 80, like they were ancient farts. And it's like, how can they fix anything? How are they going to build? And that was the other motivation, was they're going to make the zombies into their slaves to rebuild society. And I'm just thinking, I mean, granted, that's very much kind of happening right now. If you look at the reality of what we're living in, the government wants, the current regime wants people to work for free and just mindlessly slave away doing nothing.
Mr. Beezus said, what kind of indie creator are you?
I am a comic book artist. That's the best I can say.
I
don't really
do art and comic book art accessories. Do the whole King of the Hill pitch.
I'm a comic book artist. I create art. I do whatever I can to survive. But no, I draw, I paint, I do traditional art, I do any kind of art. I even create stuff out of clay. I make action figures, I make statues. They're not in this room. I have them in another room, but I intend to put them on display soon. Some of the ones that I've made. But I've made an ISOM statue already on my own, long before the one that was announced.
He says, any specific works you're on, or you're freelance mostly?
I'm mostly a freelancer, but I'm also self-made. I'm trying to start my own publishing company of my own to bring in friends of mine that are also comic book creators. I want to create a full comic book universe. I have been wanting to do this long before ISOM was even announced. Before Ripperverse was announced, I've been trying to do this.
Money and time that kind of blocks things from happening. Yeah,
money and time, and I don't have that, but I do what I can, and I'm enjoying the ride and seeing how things go. I've created a few comic books that are already like drawn. They're created. I just got to release them. And that's the biggest drawback, is formatting everything correctly. But I got the right size, dimensions, and everything. It's just a matter of timing and trying to time it right with the release of other comic books, where my mind doesn't get drowned out by these new bigger name comic book companies. And so, because I'm new too, so it's one of those things where if I try to create something, I can't be drowned out by it. I can't be nerfed for nothing. And so, I mean, I got one coming out. I'm gonna release potentially at the end of this month as a side. It was originally a side comic book. I was gonna release it with it was gonna be during the campaign if it reached a stretch goal. The stretch goal that I had intended. The only stretch goal that I intended to have was a free comic book that was going to go with it. A whole 25-pager comic book. It was going to be a Halloween special. And it was going to be called Primus Verde. and he is a mythological being of sorts. He is a beast of a man. He's just this massive hulking beast.
Yeah,
Who,
because I remember your comic book was originally based off of aspects of TMNT, Daredevil,
mhm.
karate, kung fu movies you'd watch throughout your life. I remember that. Legend
Yeah,
of Tao,
yeah, that
actually.
one in particular. That's the first one I wanted to produce, and that one I have done.
Mhm.
But I was going to do a stretch goal that was going to include a free comic book along with it. If they
Wow.
reached, like, whoever the first backers who made us reach that stretch goal, we're going to get a free
Mhm.
copy. And it was going to be a digital copy, but it was still free. And it was going to be literally another character in our universe. And
Mhm.
I have already started working on that one. I'm 10 pages in out of 25, so it's going to be a pretty good comic book. I'll
Mhm.
be selling it for like $5 digitally. It's going to be
You ever thought about going to conventions, actually, potentially?
potentially, yeah. I'm thinking about. I
Mhm.
mean, I live in Fort Worth, so in Dallas, it's
Yeah, there's
Dallas.
quite a bit of them that always happen. Yeah, I never been to one before. I want to go to one, but at least before I die, I got to try some of the great nerd stuff out
Yeah,
here.
I hear the I hear the Dallas one's pretty good. I haven't been. I have wanted to go, but it's one of those things where I've never lived in that means that within means to be able to do that. Every penny goes towards providing for family, and it's one of those things where I'd rather spend money on things that I can keep. Memories, I have a photographic memory, so I remember every single thing that I look at, and I don't need more memories. I don't need more. I don't value those things.
Because I like to do some figures for my books, maybe clay models, and make RTV molds.
That's a good way to go. I mean, I'm starting to do some for my own characters too, so yeah, that's understandable. It's one of the best things to see. That's why I was excited about ISOM, the statue. But I hope
Mhm.
they do action figures. I hope they do actual action figures.
Yeah, I think if they could ever do this, and it's very hard because it's mostly like China based. You have to get a contact
Yeah,
in China to produce that a big line of manufacturing a certain toy product for Riververse. I don't know if everyone wants to do that because Eric's very like anti China to a certain degree.
yeah,
What is possibly another way to make more money off of it, because $260 is a pretty big investment for some people. If you have the
yeah,
money for it, go ahead. That's not my thing, but if you have the money
yeah,
for it, awesome, go for it. I think it would be a little bit more better in the long term if he can make something that's a lot more streamlined. Imagine like just like the ISOM figures you kind of see at like, I don't know, stationary toy figures you see at like Walmart. Stuff like that is a lot more easier to get invested into, paying like $10 up front than like a $260 statue. That's a pretty hefty price compared to the other one. And I get it. To get that $10 toy made, you got to probably fork up like $250,000.
yes,
Oh my god, it's so much damn money. I'm not even kidding people. The way to make toys, I've looked into it. Holy mother of God, you're probably spending like at least, if you want a decent toy line, 300K potentially. Because you have to
yeah.
make it, ship it. You have, oh god, fucking hell, man. No toys for me.
However,
No toys for me.
I will say this. I think the reason why that they are, well, I think they are going to do it. I think
Yeah,
Riververse is going to do it. But I think what they're doing, that's why they're making the show, the animated series that
yeah,
they're trying
yeah,
to do with Horsemen. I think they're going to use that to kind of test the waters. If the show does well, they get
yeah,
the memberships they need. They're
yeah,
going to use that to then eventually basically kind of use it as a commercial for the toys.
yeah.
And so you'll have the Horseman probably be the first action figure they make because he is unique enough where character people will look at it and it's noticeable. I will say this, is not as iconic in terms of his suit and his outfit
Yeah.
or his appearance. He could easily be a black Orange Lantern. I mean, that's
He's
that's
like John Stewart's long lost black brother that he chose to forget about.
like his greedy black brother.
His
Oh
greedy
my!
black one that lives in Texas that didn't want to go be the part of the army.
Oh,
Holy crap. All he wanted to do was just rap, just go work at KFC. KFC ice song. Can't wait for it, people. Oh god, I'm just joking. Um
no, that is
I
wrong.
think they should do Yaira. If they're gonna do like that $10 kind of toy, you get it like a big box retailer. I do Yaira. I think Brian Solari's character is a lot more sellable in that
Yeah,
aspect. I
I
saw
think
it's weird because that suit, I never really liked the suit all that much. Actually, I
no.
like the
You know
I
what I would
like
have done?
mhm,
I would have put the symbol, the way the pattern goes
mhm.
across the shoulders
Yeah,
like this, and wrapping around the shoulders, and then have the neck like a black right
Yeah.
here on the neck, black all the way up like
Because
that.
I feel
Just
like the orange suit, it's not bad. It's not. I'd say I don't like. It's more like it's not. It's just average. It's just kind of meh. You know.
it
I feel
looks
like Brian Solari. That's my favorite character right now. I think that's the best character so far in the
yes,
universe.
he is.
Yeah.
I don't know why people. There's a lot of people. I've the last time I did a live stream,
Yeah.
I had an argument, a little small spat with somebody over the character, and I said he was making fun of the character, saying he was an idiot, and I was like, why? Because he's trying to do his job. It's like he. The problem was they took
Oh, it's
this
because of the
concept.
trick from Alpha Core 1 where it's the whole flash drive thing. It's like people that have never met like people in law enforcement, they're headstrong. That's just
Yeah,
what they are.
and not just that, but they expected him to be this by the book.
Mhm.
They expected him to this by the book cop, and I'm just like, it's not that. This is they aren't real cops. Based on what I can tell, they're not real cops. They are
Bro,
literally a government organization. Yeah, I do actually. You can check out my Twitter account. I have it on there. Create.
I'll show it right now. This is him on Twitter. So there you go. There's a link tree you can go to. You want to subscribe to his channel or page or campaign right here.
I gotta remove the campaign. Actually, I gotta update or something.
There you go.
Yeah, it's you can find my links there. My Twitter account. The at is at create underscore TV. It's pronounced create TV because it's being creative. It was a play
Mhm.
on words. I'm still working on it, some animations of my own.
Mhm.
I had already long again. This is something that was long before Rippaverse. I've been working on animations, full
Mhm.
length episodes of my characters. So you'll probably have a Legend of Tao animated episode long before the comic books take off.
The other thing for Eric was that getting the member money creates
Mhm.
a long-term sustainable revenue stream that it's
Yeah,
consistent, because when it comes to like animation, as he said, it's a lot of money. I believe it. Animation
yeah,
costs a lot of money. But if you have a consistent flow of money coming in, trying to make sure these things stay afloat, that's going to make it obviously a lot more easier. I just didn't know how many members he needed because he never said until this Horseman campaign, we need like X members because that's a lot more. Okay, if
to
people
me that
know the number, it's probably a
yeah.
lot more easily attainable than like, hey, we just need members. Well, how many members do you need to get this animated thing done? Oh, we need 500. Okay, that makes a lot more applicable. Okay,
Yeah.
Plus the members he says he's going to retool them. If he retools them, I might do the $20 tier if it's applicable. Right now, I'm just the $5 member. Because to be fair, as long as they release a Ribazine every quarter, he said, which is like what, every 2 months, so to speak, every 3 months, that pays for it in of itself.
Yeah, it does.
All you just pay for the shipping.
As it is, it's one of those things that it's one of the few things I actually support when it comes to comic books right now. I mean, aside from the Discord, I've been there with the Discord character since the beginning. I
Yeah,
was
I
there
remember
when
that. Yeah.
when they first launched it. I didn't know why. I was very drawn to the character. I liked it more. Honestly, I like Discord more than ISOM.
Yeah.
The character has more depth. The character has more personality,
Mhm.
and the suit is ultimately a lot better, actually. His
It's a lot
suit
cleaner
looks
too. Yeah.
yeah,
I read Discord and it's he. I don't know if she got mad at me when she said he is just a black version of Nightwing. He is just like Dick Grayson in a lot of ways.
yeah,
It's basically Dick Grayson if Dick Grayson was black
yeah.
without the Bruce Wayne element. I was like, this lady just created Black Nightwing. She's like, I never knew I was doing that. Yes, she did. No way, she didn't know. No
I mean,
way.
if you'd seen the art that I did for her, what's it called? Her
Mhm.
I've done I did that one comic book. I've actually done 3 different fan arts for her comic
Mhm.
book, but also did 2 that were 2 of those were commissions. And the first one that got her interested in my work was the first fan art I ever did. It was just a little poster, small little like the size of a postcard type of thing. And she liked it. She included it as part of one of her tiers when I asked, like she paid me for that one. So I guess that one kind of ended up being a commission too.
Mhm.
That's how we kind of got connected. Was she was actually my first real commission, and she constantly has hired me since, and I am thankful for that because if it wasn't for that, there's times where it's actually kept me afloat on certain
Yeah.
days,
Mhm.
and now I've been getting pretty good commissions to the point where, well, sometimes I have to cut back because I get carpal tunnel if I
Oh
don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like when you finally do get a name that people know that is in the mix kind of with other people, you're
Yeah.
like the guy that they go to if the other popular guy is too busy. So now you're basically taking all the popular guys, this dirty work essentially, but that's enough to make money consistently though. That's good
Yeah.
enough.
I mean,
I'll take it.
it's one of those things where I'd rather do that for now, but I'm more interested in creating my own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I haven't done my own streams in a while, is because of the fact that I've been so fixated on this work that I've been trying to put out. Because like I said, I do the whole thing, every step from start to finish, even the lettering. I don't do simple text fonts and all that. I write the letters. I got good penmanship. It's, it's, it's just one of those things where I like to take my time with these comic books. I don't want it to take a year or 2 years or whatever. So I'm putting out these comic books, putting out one. I don't care if it's just digitally. I'm gonna put it out this Halloween. I'm hoping
Yeah.
to put one out. It's gonna be the 25 pager. I feel it's a good one to start off with, and people can read this kind of horrific tale of a man who is a beast, who has struggled with these nightmares that have drawn him into this world of darkness, and he doesn't know what it is that's taking over him at night. And then he discovers it's actually a gift. It's something within him that he is drawn to these dark elements and things that are demonic, and he destroys them in his sleep. He literally goes to sleep and he wakes up as this beast, and he thinks that it's just a dream until he wakes up with blood all over him. And
So it's kind of like a play on like Werewolf Man kind of
yeah,
thing.
kind of.
Yeah.
He looks far more menacing, and to some degree, he's kind of got these nature-based abilities where he can sense the spiritual things through the roots and the fibers of nature, and he can control trees and things like that, kind of like a Swamp Thing a little bit.
Yeah.
But he can also communicate with animals and things like that. He's this beast of an animal type person. And then we intend to make the character grow, but to begin with, we want the character to just be this guy trying to figure out who he is.
Because that's the thing, is you do have to put your character out there and see if there's interest in the character too. You know, I feel like a lot of people, they do this, they come out swinging, and they're like, well, why did no one really support? Well, it's like, do you even know if this character is something that people are willing to be purchasing as a comic book consistently, even if you're only just doing an indie project, right? Because people always will make like the second campaign for a popular book that they have, right? And people go like, well, why didn't I get enough backers on my second campaign? Well, the problem with that is initially because, well, your first one was a number one. Everyone gets the number ones because that's just a thing that's been in comics forever. Number ones always sell very well because that is the getting in an entry point. And if they do ever read that story and actually do not like it that much, why would they back issue two? Also, there's a problem with the 80s space too, where I don't think a lot of people are even reading the books, honestly. You ask people what the books are about, they can tell you from a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think people are reading the books as much though. I don't believe it. Honestly.
I know, because like I said, when it came to that example that I gave with Alpha Core, was that these people, they hear a phrase that they'll mention in the advertisement, they run with that as their description of what the story is about. And I hear them when they describe it as it's a police procedural. It's like, you do realize that was not the primary thing. Like, it's a superhero group. Think of them as the Trinity. That's what they are. This is why I was confused with the guy. What's his name? I forget names. That guy with the visor. I can't remember that character that had a helmet and a visor.
Maxwell.
Yeah, everyone loved him. And I was like, I didn't like him because he had the same powers as the main character, the Superman.
I just felt like he got no time in the book to really show off himself. Because for Alpha Core, my only real criticism of it was the villains. I didn't think were that good. And I feel like it was just more like Alpha Duo than an Alpha Core. The most of the book was just Braxwell and Ingrid. No, sorry, Brian and Ingrid. Braxwell was barely a part of it.
Yeah, and the fact that people fixated on him, I was just kind of like, I barely even noticed him. I actually forgot that he was there. And the fact that first of all, I thought he was Hispanic. That's the main thing. I thought he was Mexican. I was like, ooh, finally a Chicano. We got a Chicano superhero. Hi! It was like that was my first thought. I was just like, I was ready. I was like, this is cool. This is gonna be cool. I thought he was gonna be a speedster. It's like, oh, Speedy Gonzalez. It's like that. This was my first thought, was Speedy Gonzalez speedster type. I thought because the visor, that my first thought was speedster. Then I find out he's Batman and Superman combined, and I'm just like, what? He can fly and got super strength and vulnerability, and he's got this Batman complex. It's like what what is he? It was like he just felt like a fan service of something. It's like I would have made him a speedster. Honestly, that would have been the better choice. I feel like that would have created a more dynamic approach to the characters. You got the Superman, you got the Wonder Woman, and you got the Flash. And then you bring in they work with Gooding. He's the Batman. Make him the Batman. Or make what's his face the Horseman, make him Batman, their Batman. He's the one that they want to bring into the fold. Like, make this, if they do this as a concept, just their version of a Justice League of sorts, that could work. Or you could alternate between the two of Isom and Horseman. They kind of are the rivals of Batman types because they kind of have a similar story of, suffering or some sort. There's a sense that they both face some kind of suffering and they become heroes. And so I'm just kind of like, I feel like that could be a good approach to the storytelling aspect of these characters. And right now it seems kind of disorganized. There's no synergy.
Bit, yeah.
There's no synergy between the characters. And Alpha Core was the biggest issue for me. I'm still not sure if I'll back the next issue, to be honest. We're not back. I mean, pre-order.
Fine. Yeah.
I might get it. It depends on the cover art.
That's my case with Bloodruth. I don't know why people like Bloodruth when she came in Isom too. I feel like she was just, she was bad. She was just okay. She was just an added addition. I think Gooding was a lot more interesting in that book to be better than her. Mm-hmm. She was just a plot device to get Isom into that cave cavern to find his friend. Yeah. And she had the little cool dialogue with the whole multiverse and stuff. That was like kind of cool. But other than that, I don't really find the interest to need to give her a solo book. You know what I mean? Like, I think Nafrika looked a lot more interesting, and they had like a panel of screen time,
Personally, I'm not a big fan of magic-based characters. I mean, to some degree, I think there's a way. For me, I think of them as villains. I've always thought of them as villain-type characters. Yeah. And because they are ultimately, their source comes from a sense of darkness. It's every time, even Bloodruth. I mean, her powers literally come from blood. It's like there is a darkness. She's not going to be a hero, I don't think. I think if anything, she's going to be maybe a misunderstood villain.
She's one of those evil. Like, maybe she's good based off the circumstance. She didn't seem like a villain, but she's like a villain, a character where she'll be the good guy based off the circumstance of the story. She won't be an overall good guy. I don't know if I'm that interested in her. I'm going to buy all the books. I like supporting companies like this because it gives me more characters and comic books to read. But like Bloodruth is my least anticipated book coming out. I'm going to get it. I'm going to read them, review like all the other ones. It's just, I am not looking forward to that. I did not think she was interesting at all.
I already pre-ordered Horseman. Horseman is the only one right now I'm anticipating as Horseman. I pre-ordered it day one. Mm-hmm. It was like, I was there day one. I waited. I was wanting to see if I was going to like it. And I thought, maybe not. I don't know. And then as soon as it launched, I saw the overall approach, what they're trying to create with the character. And then I saw Chuck Dixon was involved, and I was just kind of like, this is difficult because I'll say, even though I don't like the Gooding comic book, I feel like it's still, the writing was good. It told a good story. It had direction. It had flow. It did not. It did not skip.
The story mattered when it all wrapped up. It felt like it had a purpose. Yeah,
but I didn't like it. There was the difference. Great story, sucked. Like I was the character. He was boring. But he would make a good Batman type character, or a good what's his face, Mr. Terrific type character, like a white Mr. Terrific. That's what he is, and that's fine. But it's not my niche. It's not my interest. My intrigue is more with Punisher, with Brian Solari. I like Solari. I like that character. He was the Superman type character that I was hoping for. I saw him. I expected him to kind of be that original, like Black Superman, that like he's the actual Black Superman. But no, he seems pretty weak. He seems just like kind of super. He kind of has super strength. It kind of comes and goes. It's like
and these are the growing pains of a new comic book universe. I'm pretty sure I would imagine he understands a lot of that stuff, because things are progressively improving in some of the books here and there. The one that I was a little bit disappointed with was Yaira. I thought that was going to be like one of those it's like the big coming out party for the biggest like female character in the universe. And I love Jen and Sylvie. They're awesome. I like them a lot. It's just like, man, that book is not that it was even really bad. I would say it's a letdown on the fact that there's so much dialogue in that book. My brain is frying. I was like, man, these panels are going page to page wall of text. We're like Game of Thrones book level of writing there. Holy crap. So I'll ask you this. Do you think another reason why certain indie creators are doing what they're doing right now as far as like drama farming is because they just have nothing left? You think that's all they got?
I think they're still trying to, basically, they're kind of buying time. They're buying time, or biding their time until they can release something new, and because they got to keep their accounts active. If they don't keep their accounts active, what happens is every post they post afterwards becomes throttled, where basically no matter what they post, there's no viewership. I noticed this because when I was posting for the first few weeks after being gone for so long, I noticed my account was throttled. Like nothing I was posting had any viewership. It still kind of doesn't. Like to some degree it doesn't. And there's times where it does, where my random retweets or my random posts will get major views, and that's fine. But I'm noticing right now I definitely need to get back to posting videos. I gotta get back into doing reviews and such. But when I see these people drama farming, I think, like I said, I've been a part of that too. I've done it too. It's mostly just to not really farming. I just post what I'm seeing, what's going on, and I post my opinions, my thoughts on what's happening. Now I've seen some people who they hit the complete swing and a miss type things where they'll post something just to get people pissed, and then people will get pissed and then be like, watch as the storm of comments just comes pouring in,
Oh
and they're
yeah.
like, oh wow, like
Some of them
look
are
at these.
even phrased badly. Like one person that I do know that I do not think it's a bad guy. He phrased his comment in a way of like, would you back a book if there was drama behind it? Like, what kind of question is that? Like, what? And I think this guy's awesome, but why in the world would this be a question? Like, what does this do? How does this help anybody? Oh my god, people gotta stop these questions of the day. It's like just say what you want, just say what you mean, because the question phrase of it is like, I don't even know if this is a question. It's more like a statement than a question, honestly.
Yeah, and it's the bigger thing is when they do that, they kind of cloud, they shroud all the good posts with this one negative nothing, this fart of a post, and it's just kind of like I want to see more comic books. I want to see more creative stuff being posted. I want to see more fan art. I noticed even with Rippaverse, I haven't seen a lot of fan art being shared because it's all crowded with these people hate posting for no reason. Now I'll say there's some who are valid, but there are others who they don't post anything related to fan art or comic books or anything. They don't share a lot of their campaign stuff. They don't share anything. I mean, for me, I was a culprit of that too, but I took note and then stopped. I looked at it and I think that right now a lot of creators need to take a moment to reflect. They need to look at the post,
Yeah.
look at their feed. If they're a comic book creator or a content creator of any kind, look at what you're posting. Look at what you see on your feed. If all you see is this nonsense that annoys you, then maybe put something else on there. Change the feed, change the storm, change the direction, the
Yeah,
flow.
no,
And
I agree. It just has to be a collective amount of people doing it too. It can't
yeah,
just be like one person. I truly don't think it's going to make that big of an impact. But if like 10 people do it, that's a change. Then if 10
yeah.
people see, hey, there is traction in being not like forced positivity, we're being
No,
naturally positive based off of what we enjoy in doing, then
yeah.
more people are going to see like, oh, we don't have to do this for retweets or likes on our posts. It needs to
Yep.
be a collective group mindset from just kind of like the great minds think alike point of view. Each person has to come together and think, wait, we got to make sure this happens. And it only can happen if they want to do it. It
Yeah.
can't happen just from one person because only one person's not going to make it that big a difference, because people have tried. And it's unless there's more people willing to put in on it,
Yeah.
it's just how. And then, the audience is the problem with this too. The audience are like, well, we just want to see content like this. No, you don't. The most view stuff is the drama stuff. I hate when people lie. Just why lie? Just say the truth, okay? It's much easier if you just tell the truth and well, no, I love my wife. I love the way she gets cucked. She gets destroyed by Tyrones and gangbangs. I love it. I love doing that. No, you don't. You just are a cuck. You're a loser. Just say that,
I mean, it's a weird thing to see because of the fact that I want to see more comic books. I want to see more people
Yeah.
posting art. I'm a comic book creator. That's all I want to
Mhm.
see. And so I'm like, what am I posting that's not, you know, that's kind of changing this direction. So I
Mhm.
started posting, sharing other people's campaigns because I couldn't post mine yet. I couldn't post anything yet because I'm not done. And so what I do is I'll share a few things that working on for the day, but I started sharing more people's campaigns, the ones that I'm backing. I went on a full tirade for a cool 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks, posting the Discord character when it was when what's her when CS Johnson where she was posting very minimal amounts of
Yeah.
posts for her comic. I was like, oh, she's not doing enough. So I
Mhm.
started posting it more often. I started tagging the old artwork that I did for her
Yeah, I
campaigns
remember. Mhm.
and some of the new stuff too that I'm working on for her as well. Some stuff that she's commissioned. And I wanted to promote the things that she created because I'm like, this character needs to grow and this character needs more than just like you only got 5 issues. Fine. You got to get these 5 issues to shine. Like I'm hoping that she gets above and beyond the recognition that the character deserves. Like this character has potential, but it's shrouded by all these drama mongers like that's and they don't post anything else aside from that. Like even Ethan Van Shriver, one of the biggest names
Yeah.
in
Creepy van
in the indie
driver.
space, and he has some interesting takes sometimes, but there's times where he will dig in on nothing, like on a thing that it means nothing,
Yeah.
and he'll
Like if you
just
just
dig
said
in on it.
nothing, it would just be like whatever. Yeah, there are people that
Yeah,
do that. They'll just create something out of nothing. That isn't even a big deal at all. Even if you were to microscopically analyze it, you'll realize there's nothing to be said here. Like or use Eric and him, for example. Like people say that him and Eric need to stop doing this. Eric's not doing anything to him. It's
no,
such a lie,
he's
you
just
know?
posting. He's just literally just posting his work. That's it. And then there's times where he will have a discussion on his was it the Silverback? It was Eric and the Silverback, that stream that he does, but he
Yeah.
doesn't do any there's nothing spiteful in it. He does it kind of I mean, it's mostly joking around and pointing out what's happening in reality. It's called reality. It's life. It's happening. That's what's happening in their circle, their sphere. And they tell people this is what we're seeing in our environment. And then they don't poke fun at creators. They focus on the mainstream mostly, actually. I'd say whenever they do talk smack at all, it's just the mainstream. And it's the truth is that the mainstream right now is kind of to some degree screwed unless they stop paying attention to this small group of weirdos that are honestly they don't pay for comic books ever. It's like there's times where I've skipped a meal to buy a comic book. That's how much I like comic books. Where and it doesn't show, but but it's one of those things where the
Yeah, there's something
the
that
love
you
of
said on
comic books.
Twitter, and this is what a lot of people had to agree with me on too. Is like these people, some of these guys here, not even just Ethan, the people that are in his audience, they're not buying books. They're just here because it's like this WWE drama farming. They like the drama aspect of it. They're not here for comics. They don't.
Yeah.
They'll never. It's not even the fact that you're even if they did buy the book, they're not reading it. You know.
And Eric was smart because from the very beginning he said
Mhm.
he's not buying this stuff anymore. He'll back a few of his friends, he says, but
Yeah.
and a few people that he finds fascinating, and sometimes he'll just throw money at certain small campaigns,
Mhm.
but very rarely. And he says it too. He's very transparent about it, and that's what I admired from the beginning, and why I still pay for his books. And they've gone down in price, and so to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna spend some money on there. I'm gonna put some money at this thing because it's the only thing I enjoy more than DC and Marvel. And it's DC and Marvel I stopped paying for because of the fact that like about 10 years ago, I stopped paying for it because it stopped being interesting. It stopped being fun. They made Superman gay. They made his son annoying and gay. They made it's like they made Robin gay. They made everything gay. It's like I just so much gay, and it's not It's not fascinating. It's not entertaining. And it lacks any sense of heroism. There's no action of no. There's not a lot of action going on, except for what's in the sheets, and that's not the kind of action I want to see.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
And
I
we
want
know
to
when they
see.
mean bi, they mean straight up gay. That's
Yeah,
just what bi means now. Yeah.
right. I liked the relationship between Tim Drake and Cassie.
Yeah.
Those two were not Cassie. Sorry, I think it was Cassie. No, Stephanie Brown. That was
Yeah.
the name. My brain. I flipped Superboy with Tim Drake,
That's
but
fine.
and I miss Connor Kent, the clone. He was a cool comic book character. I liked him more than most of the DC stuff. Like it was just entertaining, and that's that's missing right now is that action packed the thrills, the cheap thrills of superheroes flying through buildings and punching bad guys through Lex Tower. I mean that's just it's just that's the thing that's missing right now, and that's what Rippaverse kind of brought in. What people don't realize, that's what Rippaverse brought back, is that kind of over the top, flying through buildings, bashing people into the streets. The comic books were not as weird as people think they were. It's like people they I remember when I grew up, comic books didn't have this weirdness to them that you had to be some deep thinker to read a comic book.
They
And
were
it's
just
like
disposable entertainment. That's what they
yeah,
are.
and it's like it's fun. That's all it's supposed to be is fun, where it's accessible to all ages. I mean, I'll read a novel and then I'll switch to a graphic novel and then switch to a comic book and then switch to all these like go to cartoons after that. It's like it's just that's how it should be, where you can just feel this natural flow to jump between entertainment. But now I'm like I have trouble finding anything worth watching, anything worth reading, and it's just kind of like Rippaverse kind of was a like a light in that tunnel, and then they highlighted so many campaigns that I started looking into them, and it was just like there were so many people.
Yeah, that was my gateway into the indie comic scene because I never knew it existed until like I saw #1 came out. I was like, "Where's all?" Cause I saw all these posts under his thing, and I was like, "What is all this? This is also a whole new world." I didn't even know what Comicsgate was until like, well, I'd vaguely heard of it here and there, you know.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was like, "This is Comicsgate," and then, well, I went down that rabbit hole, and I wish I never did because there was like a bunch of stuff happening there too. Holy crap, man!
Yeah, I didn't want to be a part of that. It's millennial writers are honestly some of the worst. Hey, I'm a millennial.
It's just like, but the reason why they're this is the reason why they're there. Marvel and this not even well, yeah, would be them. Marvel, DC, or even IDW rumored want to do this. They want to basically penny pinch. If you get someone like a millennial writer, well, they can't command a big price tag. Well, because they have nothing to offer, right? They have no resume. So
I'm not even sure if they're getting millennials. I'm not even sure if that's a millennial. The ones I'm looking at, they're like my brother's age, which he's not a millennial either. He's like Gen Z. Gen Z, I think, is what it is. But
they like people with no prior experience because they know they could just give you some fuck like freelance work. So like, I mean, if you're writing, how much money would you get writing a page? Isn't like $60 to $80? So 60 times 24, what is that, like $1,200? Somewhere around there, right?
I mean, writing's a lot easier compared to like doing art. You can write a story pretty easily, especially for a comic book. It's pretty easy to write one. But if you want to have one that captures the hearts of fans, where they're like, "Oh, I love this character," or like, "Oh, this is awesome," just the action, that scene was perfect. Chef's kiss, like it was just perfection. Like, you want to get that storytelling. I don't think you can do that with people who have no experience in life. You have to have some form of life experience. I mean, I've gone through things and I've experienced hell, and it's just
it takes like going through those moments to redefine how you think so you can better like express not only just yourself but in your work too. You know, I got better at making videos throughout my years of making videos because I was able to go through certain things to make my brain advance. My brain's now expanded to the point where I'm smarter than the average person now. I think I'm basically on Lex Luthor's level. I'm just kidding, guys. But like, I feel like some of these, they're hired because they have no experience. They can't command a big contract. They can't be like, "Hey, I want Jonathan Hickman money." Well, who the fuck are you, Joe Mama? I'm giving you $30 a page, and you'll like it and you'll take it up the
Yeah,
ass,
I
and
mean,
you get no royalties. And they'll do it because do you know what happens, dude? The average new creator on Marvel and DC, even if they have done nothing, the fact that they're on a title means they'll get like 500 plus followers on Twitter for free, only because they worked with Marvel and DC. That's it. They're doing it either, and these people doesn't matter how much they get paid. They're doing it because they know they're making no money, and they're doing it because it's easy, free Twitter clout. It's so bad how things have gotten. And you know, the indie creators too, people got to factor in, Image themselves produces indie titles consistently every week. And not only are those some of them, one of them, Hail the Lord put out, it was called like Knights vs. Samurai. I bought it on my pull list. That's like $2.99. Like, and like other smaller indie creators, how are you going to compete with that? Image is producing indie titles weekly, like just weekly because they can, you know?
Yeah.
So as the indie creator, you have to be even above like the major publisher that's producing indie titles. So it's really competitive, man. It's absolutely insane, dude.
It's a very difficult thing to do, especially like for these people, these indie creators, they have to pay someone to do the artwork for them because a lot of them don't know how to do that. My brother and I, we do it ourselves. So it's just, we got the art and the writing and everything has to be done right here in-house. And I mean, it's got to the point where I've even considered getting a printer, my brain, getting a printer, a full size one. It's like $600 to get a good one. And then you get to get the ink is like $50, but then you can get your own comic books.
Big cartridges. Yeah.
Like, but over time, you get to print your own comic books. And
so you're basically saying you want to get to a point where you can make the comic books in-house. That way you can lower costs down.
Yeah. That's the
Mike
goal.
And Mindy are doing that too. They are just making their own they've been getting their own printer line to make their own books. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it's difficult, but I think it's possible. And it's one of those things where if you want to really create something worthwhile that allows you to create for people, for your fan base to actually get involved and really intrigued with the process and get involved with your overall, the work, and actually you get to show the passion you put into it. I think that will honestly outshine anything in the mainstream. Even even the big indies will probably get outshined if you can really impress them with the work that you do. Now, mind you, I switched to cut cost. I went to digital only to draw. That's what I did, was digital only, because the paper and ink and all that stuff cost a lot. So tablet, draw it all on tablet. And it also takes less time. Now, mind you, I'm using a Samsung tablet, so I still have all the issues that you would get from a Wacom tablet or from a regular average tablet. But it's a good one. It works. I get the work done. I get lots of commissions, and I get to live. It's like, and I charge roughly $150 per page, and that's it. That's roughly what I charge. And if it's a cover, I charge $250 for the cover, because the cover ultimately has a lot more detail than the interiors, but I still try to keep it all uniformed where it's still equal to some degree. But the cover usually has a lot more, because the biggest part about storytelling with a comic book is you get to show in the panels. Not every panel is going to have this enormous amount of detail. You have the character sometimes just in front of a gradient background. That's the wall. Like, that's just his wall, bedroom wall. To add depth, what I do to make it where it's not boring is I'll add like a shape where the wall has the corner in it. Artists charge too much for the average person. Yes.
God. Yeah.
Sorry, I said it.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Writing would be like their gateway into getting to something else, I would say. Because there are some writers they hire where they're just going to get paid like fucking maybe even $40 a page to write a 24-page comic. And you obviously, let me see if I can run the math. There's no way you could live off that. Like, so you would have, let's do calculator, because I can't do math because I'm black and we're obviously not good at anything but rap. Let's do it. Okay, a calculator. So you have a 24-page comic book, and let's say you charge that artist $40 a page. So times 40 equals $960. You can't live off that. That's just one book.
In Texas, you could actually.
If you were living like buttfuck Alabama, potentially.
In Texas, you can live off of $900. $900 if you do
$960. This is
if you do
after taxes, maybe.
That's if you do 4 books a month.
Yeah, so if you did, like, so times 4, so if you were a guy they liked and you did 4 books a month, $3,840 a month. That's after taxes. That'd probably be like what, $2,000 flat, probably $2K.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to write 4 books to get to that. Writing one book. Imagine living in New York, trying to live off of $960 a month.
Yeah, you're dead.
Dude,
you're dead. That's it.
You're living. You just in a cardboard box.
You'll get a shot. You'll become part of the funny. You'll have your own comic book panel on the newspaper.
Oh God! Like try living in California, New York off that. It's not possible. It's not possible. It does not exist.
Like, unless you live on the streets and then your tablet gets stolen.
Did you hear the IDW news? They want to do a whole process of a comic book, rumored for like $200. That means you're charging $12 a page for a writer.
No,
it's not possible.
I charge like I said, 150, and that's considered for most of my peers. They all tell me I'm charging too little. They're telling me I'm charging far too. They said I should charge like 1,000. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that.
Well, if you charge 1,000, you understand. If you charge $1,000, you're gonna have less people because the barrier to entry is too high. Yeah,
and not just that, but I'm not on that level yet. I'm nowhere near that level. I mean, you see my artwork. It's not perfect. It has issues. The face is a little bit flat, or the hands are not perfect. The feet a little small, legs a little too big. I tend to do a lot of thick thighs for some reason. That's just
because they save lives, obviously. Yeah.
And with girls, big chest. That's because I grew up with girls who all had big chests. Every girl I knew, all of them. I've never met a flat-chested girl in my life.
Really? Come to California. We'll show you different. Flat-chested girls are life out here. Hey, I don't mind it. I'm more of an ass guy myself, honestly. But last few things I'll ask you is anything planned you have coming up in 2024, going into 2025, actually?
Well, I do have, like I said, I have that comic book, the Primus Verde comic book, and the Legend of Tao. I'm hoping to release in December. If not, I'll probably release it in the new year. But I have a lot more comic books planned, not just the Legend of Tao. I intend to launch a whole line of different characters. I have, let's see, there's Tao. There's this character I have named Xenos. He is a Superman type character. He has this kind of this aura manipulation power that gives him super strength and vulnerability, flight, teleportation, and the ability to rearrange atoms. Like he can kind of like Mr. Manhattan to a degree, but he's fully human, and he understands that his power has limitations. And so and then I have a speedster character that's coming out later hopefully that same year. His name is Voyager, and he is like I said, he's a speedster. He's a teenage superhero. He's gonna be our foray into getting younger people interested in comic books again. We want a character that is hopeful.
Do you feel like you're still improving in your art?
Every day, every single day, I've been getting better with the details. I've been working on more dynamic poses and more action scenes. And the cover for one of my comics, for Tao in particular, I'm redoing the cover entirely before I release it. I want to redo it entirely. I want to have a more action dynamic pose for the cover where he's either fighting one of his villains or he is jumping off a rooftop or something. I'm hard to tell which direction I want to go with his cover, but I want overall the details and the things I've been learning. I've been learning all about lighting and things like that. The shading, people have seen the stuff that I've done, some people, and the lighting is honestly the best part that I usually do. I'm really good at that, but I've improved since then, and I've learned how to control how much oversaturation that I've put into some of the characters. And it's part of the reason why I got hired for the Discord cover art for some elements, some pages, or mostly for variants. But it's one of those things where I've been hired because of the lighting that I'm able to do with the characters. And I don't use filters. I don't use things on my art to try to enhance it. I like to draw every detail of the character. I don't use anything but my hand and brush strokes and things like that. I don't use custom brushes. I just use my hand. That's it. I change the direction. So yeah, I guess I could say I have learned a lot.
Last thing I'll ask you, man, is any shout outs you're going to get to anyone in particular, and any closing thoughts or statements before we end the show?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to, Nick, yeah, he created Nick the Phoenix Press. He created the Screecher comic book series, and I was there from. He was actually the first person to ever follow me on Twitter. He was the very first person from zero. He was the first follower. Saw my artwork, retweeted it, and he kind of was the one that gave me the boost. And he's the one that shared with me, I believe, the Discord character, and that's what kind of took off. So yeah, shout out to both Nick at the Phoenix Press and also writer C.S. Johnson. Those two are some of my favorite people. You should check out their comics. Excellent work.
Awesome. Hell yeah, man. It was great talking to you again for after a while, you know.
I'll be back if you want me back.
Yeah, anytime, man. Yeah, just like my dad. We come back eventually with some Skittles and some Marlboro cigarettes. So thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show, and we will see you guys later. Have a